Hello everybody, my name is Jennifer Maker, and it's a beautiful day to show you how to make custom porch signs on the Great Maker Show and Tell. So a little over 2 years ago, I showed everyone how to make vertical welcome signs for your porches. Do you remember this? This tutorial has been a huge hit, and I've loved seeing everyone's awesome porch signs. In that tutorial, I showed you how to piece together letters and align them all up using registration marks, because the Cricut Explorer Air 2 and the original Cricut Maker can only cut a part of the long sign at once, right? 12 or 24 inches depending on the size of your mat. Well, now that we can do long cuts up to 12 feet long on the new Cricut Explorer 3 and the Cricut Maker 3 cutting machines, it's time to revisit this tutorial because it's now a lot easier to make these vertical signs. But I know that you have questions about how to cut, transfer, and apply a long piece of vinyl, so I really want to do this with you. All right, so we're going to make a whole new round of signs just like these, as well as a fun growth chart that I have sitting over here by my closet. It looks just like a ruler. Isn't that cool? For this project, you need one long board like this one right here. I use this 1 inch thick by 8 inch thick by 48 inch thick that I got from Lowe's, but you can get a longer board and cut it to size. Some stores will even cut the board for you or make it any size you want. You get to decide. It's a custom sign, right? You also need paint and protective sealer. Now I'm using chalk paint in a variety of colors like a teal blue, red, white, gray, and black. And this brand, Folk Art, works really well. And because these porch signs are intended to be a little rustic and casual, I'm roughing up the edges with some sandpaper to create a little weathering and more interest. And this is 230 grit sandpaper that you do about 1 hour after you paint it with the chalk paint. And then after the paint, you'll want to protect the entire board with polyacrylic clear matte finish. You can use something else, but we're using chalk paint, so matte finish works. You'll also want to have some brushes, foam brushes, paper towels on hand to paint and protect your boards. After 24 hours, you can decorate the sign. For this tutorial, I'm using rolls of Cricut Smart Vinyl because it will allow me to cut the whole sign at once, as you can see right here, without needing to piece it. Isn't this cool? So I'm using black and white premium Smart Vinyl. That's the permanent vinyl, not removable vinyl. And you want to use permanent vinyl because it'll hold up better if you put your sign outside like I did. My 2.5-year-old sign that I made with Cricut Premium Vinyl is holding up like a champ on my porch. It's still there if you ever were to drive by and see it. And of course, to go along with that, we need a long length of transfer tape, which you can get on big rolls just like this. Be sure to get the standard grip transfer tape, not the strong grip transfer tape, to ensure a smooth transfer to your painted board. You'll also want a weeding tool, scissors, and a scraper to apply your vinyl to your board. And of course, you want a way to cut your vinyl, right? If you want to cut it as long as I'm doing in this tutorial, you're going to want the Cricut Explorer 3, which I have right here, or the Cricut Maker 3. If you don't have those, you can still make it with another cutting machine. Please see my vertical sign tutorial at jennifermaker.com/vertical signs to see how to piece and align your vinyl on the sign using registration marks. So I'm going to cut this vinyl on my new Cricut Maker 3, but you could also do it on the Cricut Explorer 3, so don't get confused by that. And since I'm using a roll of Smart Vinyl, this one right here, I'm also going to show you how to use the Cricut roll holder that you can see over here, which is optional, and you can buy it separately for the Maker and Explorer. So let me show you where to find my porch signs and my growth chart design, and then I'll show you how to paint and decorate your signs. Step 1, prep your board. The first step is to get your sign board ready. Prepping the board takes time, so plan on at least 2 days to complete this project from start to finish. Begin by using your 220 grit sandpaper to sand down the surface and edges of your board. Once you're happy with the smoothness of the board, wipe it down to remove the dust. The smoother your board, the better the paint, polyacrylic, and vinyl will adhere to it. Next, use a foam brush to apply your chalk paint to the surface and edges of your board. I'm going with teal, one of my favorite colors, but you decide what color is best for you. If you want a weathered look, you can sand the edges or the flat surfaces of your board after about 1 hour after you've painted it, because the paint isn't quite dry yet at that point. Once the paint is dry, which takes at least 24 hours, gently sand the surfaces again. The smoother the surface, the better your vinyl is going to stick. And you'll want to use a paper towel or rag to remove any sand dust. Next, use your bristled paintbrush to apply a thin coat of polyacrylic to your board. Remember, safety first. Do this in a well-ventilated area. And then allow 24 hours for your board to fully dry before you move on to the next step. Step 2, get my free design files. Download the pattern for this project from my blog at jennifermaker.com/308. Just go to the red bar at the top and look for libraries. Then either click Get a Password if you don't yet have one, or click Enter the library. You can find the pattern by searching the page for Design 308 and then click it to download an SVG cut file for cutting with a Cricut or another cutting machine, or to download a printable PDF if you prefer to use a craft knife instead. If you're not yet sure how to upload an SVG cut file to Cricut Design Space, please watch my helpful video training series at jennifermaker.com/svgs. Here is what my DIY porch signs SVG file looks like once you've uploaded it to Cricut Design Space. You get to choose what design you'd like to make. To do this, click Ungroup in the upper right corner when the design is still selected. Now just hide or delete the layers that you don't want to make. If you'd like to personalize the Welcome to the Maker sign, there are 2 ways to change the name to your family's name. First, I will show you how to use the new kerning feature in Design Space, and second, I will explain how to do it if you don't have the kerning feature. Select only Makers and click Delete. If you have the kerning feature, click on the text icon on the left side of your screen to open a text box. Click the Font drop-down arrow and check Only Current Fonts, which should be there by default, to filter the results to all fonts that will work with this feature. Select your font and click in your text box to begin typing. I used Lucida handwriting for this. Note that if you don't have this font installed, you can get it online for free. I have a link in my tutorial, but really the font is up to you, so be creative. Type your desired name and click anywhere on your canvas to click out of the text edit mode. If you use the same font, your name will look like this, with the letters flowing together. If you don't have kerning, click the text box on the left side of your screen and choose a font from the drop-down window. I am again demonstrating this with the Lucida handwriting font, but you can use whatever font you like. Type your desired name and click the text section in the layers list. You can now change the letter spacing. And here's a tip. If you cannot get your spacing to connect or flow correctly, you can click Advanced and then click Ungroup to Letters. This will allow you to manually move each letter in your name in place to see how you'd like it. Once you have your name the way you like it, you'll need to select each letter in that name and weld it together. So click one letter in the Layers panel, hold down the Shift key to select all of the text layers in your layers list, and then click Weld. You also want to match the color for the text to make sure that it's the same as the rest of your design. So here's a tip. When you click on the Colors menu, your project colors are displayed in the top row. You can easily select one of the colors that matches the rest of your project. Super easy. You can click and drag the resize handle to adjust the size. Once your name is the way that you'd like it, select the layer in your layers list, press the Shift key on your keyboard, and also select the Welcome to the layer. And then at the bottom right, click Attach. And you are all set. You can now cut your vinyl with a custom name. Important note, my designs are created for boards that are about 8 inches wide by 48 inches long. Be sure to confirm the width and length of your board before cutting your design, and make sure that the dimensions of your design don't exceed the dimensions of your board. You can confirm the width of the design by selecting your design in Cricut Design Space and look at the top of the design or the toolbars at the top, because the dimensions will be displayed there. Your board may not be the same measurements as advertised in the store. It's pretty common for it to be a little smaller than what they say. For example, my 8-inch board was actually more like 7 inches. So just keep that in mind. And note that I'm going to show you how to cut this on a Cricut Maker 3, but you could also do it on a Cricut Explore 3, so don't let that confuse you. You're going to use those machines because they can do the awesome long cuts. If you're using a cutting machine that cannot do such long cuts, please visit jennifermaker.com/vertical signs to learn how to piece and align your letters. But otherwise, you can follow the rest of this tutorial. Now, with only the design that you wish to make showing, click Make It in the top right of the screen. The next screen allows you to review your cut. You will notice that this screen also tells you the minimum length of smart vinyl that you'll need to make your cut. So for this project, it's 47.5 inches. And the best part of this is that because we're going to use a Cricut Maker 3, we don't need a mat. So just click Continue. Select your material, which should be Smart Vinyl Permanent. Now insert your Smart Vinyl into the Cricut roll holder and feed your Smart Vinyl into your Cricut Maker 3 or the Cricut Explore 3, either one. If you don't have a Cricut roll holder, you can simply cut your Smart Vinyl to meet the minimum length indicated, or just let the roll of vinyl sit on a table in front of your Cricut. Either one works. If you're not at a table or there's a drop-off right behind your Cricut, you may want to put a plastic tub or bin behind your cutting machine to catch the vinyl as it feeds through your machine so that it doesn't fall onto the floor and get covered with dust bunnies. Once you have your vinyl loaded in and under the guides and pressed up against the rollers, press the load button. Your Cricut Maker 3 or Cricut Explore 3 will pull the vinyl in all the way to confirm that there's enough material before starting the cut. So don't let that surprise you. Once your machine is ready and it's ensured that you have enough material for this cut, the arrow button will begin flashing. Just press that to go. And you'll notice that this button has been updated on the Cricut Maker 3 and the Explore 3 from what you used to see, which before it was like a little Cricut logo. I really like the play button here better. Now sit back and watch how fast it cuts your Smart Vinyl. It's amazing. If you blink, you might actually miss it. When I was recording my videos, I actually had to cut it a number of times just to get it onto the video to show you. That's how fast it was. When your design is all done cutting, you can use the cutter on the roll holder to cut off the Smart Vinyl. If you didn't use a roll holder, no problem. You can just use a pair of scissors to cut it off instead, or just roll it all out and then cut it, whatever works for you. Step 3, apply your Smart Vinyl design to your board. All right, it's time to put it all together. I find it helpful to trim the excess vinyl so that you're only working with a design area. And then if you trim it away first before you weed it, it'll also give you a bunch of vinyl that you can save for future projects. Cut your transfer tape the same size as your design and be careful to cut it straight. I recommend that you apply the transfer tape like this to ensure a smooth transfer. To do this, just peel away the transfer tape backing from the top and carefully lay it down over the top of the vinyl, making sure that the design and the transfer tape line up along the sides. The straighter you align your transfer tape, the easier it will be to align your design on your sign. And use your scraper tool to make sure your design adheres to the transfer tape really well. All right, so once that's transferred to the transfer tape, line up your design on your board. Make sure the long line of your transfer tape lines up with the edge of your board. You want those to be straight. Now with the top and side aligned, peel away and fold down the top few inches of the backing from the transfer tape and apply it from the top down, keeping it straight, right? So this is the way that you're going to keep this long line of vinyl straight on your sign. Peel away the backing as you move down the board, using your scraper to help you adhere the smart vinyl smoothly to your board. And that's it. That's all. It's actually really easy once you get the hang of it. Step 4, show it off. Your porch sign is complete. Isn't this awesome? Put it wherever you want and enjoy it. I keep mine on my porch for all to see. Aren't these signs just so fun? I love how you can customize them. Imagine all the fun things you can make and personalize with this. I've always loved this sign project, but I will admit to loving it a little bit more now that it's easier and faster to cut and transfer. And by the way, I don't put anything over this. I just put it out on my porch just like this. Lasts really well, in fact. If you get any questions about making your porch signs or growth charts or using the Explorer 3 or the Maker 3, please let me know. Leave your question below this video or ask in our Cricut Crafters group at jennifermaker.com/CricutCrafters, where you can get advice and ideas from crafters just like you. So if you'd like to learn more about the Cricut Explorer 3 or the Maker 3, check out my collection of tutorials and projects over at jennifermaker.com/CricutExplorer3 Maker 3. And that's it for today. Watch for more tutorials on using the Explorer 3 and the Maker 3 coming soon. I have lots of really cool things planned. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.